Should I be on an antidepressant while I'm coming off of benzodiazepine? Will it help with my depression? Will it help with symptoms? Very common question, and a very tough question, again, to answer because everyone's different. Generally speaking, I would say if you can do it without the antidepressant, do it. You're better off that way. An antidepressant may help, but again, for most of the symptoms, it's not going to reduce or even really touch benzo withdrawal symptoms. It's a different kind of mechanism that's happening there. At best, what an antidepressant seems to do is, when you're going through benzo withdrawal, it's like you're falling down this well of symptoms, right? And depression is, I've talked about it a lot, depression is a big part of the pervading problems. And all the other decorative branches we get lost on, panic attacks, anxiety, blurred vision, all this stuff. But depression is the base of it. And how far down that well goes, an antidepressant can help you from falling too low, meaning you don't get to a suicidal ideation. You might not commit suicide. You're not going to get to that part, which is kind of rare, on the rarer side of benzo recovery. But it does happen, as we all know. We've seen these people take their lives, and it's very sad. So could an antidepressant help with that? Sure, it could help with that super severe depression. Now, on the other hand, I want you to know this about antidepressants. Generally speaking, this is just generally speaking, but you can look up the studies for yourself. Antidepressants seem to work for about a third of people that take it. About 40% of people that take antidepressants get better. Now, 1/3 get worse, and 1/3 stays the same. This is relatively the same with psychology, by the way, as well. So, psychotherapy. And it's also relatively similar to people that don't go to therapy. So it's not a good argument for either, but it is a good argument of how mental illness works and how persistent it can be and difficult to treat. So about a third of you guys get better, a third of us get better taking an antidepressant. Again, for a benzo withdrawal, probably not going to do much because benzo withdrawal is your brain is literally trying to heal from a dependence on an entirely different chemical. Also, consider this, that antidepressants take 6 to 8 weeks to start working. You might hear people say, well, I took it, and within the first week or two, I started feeling great. That's a placebo. Almost overwhelmingly, that's a placebo for most cases. There are some cases where an antidepressant can work a little faster, but typically you don't start feeling better to 4 to 6 to 8 weeks later. So it's a placebo. And what happens is we start to feel better immediately. This happens in psychology, by the way, too, in counseling. We start to feel better just by going and seeing someone. Just by getting in an office and sitting down and talking to someone about our problems and having some kind of hope is huge for our healing. So there is that. What else here? Side effects of antidepressants: weight gain, 20 to 30 pounds generally, flat affect. It's like being under a chemical blanket. Everything's gray. Insomnia or weird dreams or nightmares, nausea, loss of sexual desire or erectile dysfunction, dry mouth, blurred vision, constipation, irritability, and anxiety, and in rare cases, even psychosis or suicide. So a lot of symptoms, a lot of risk, a lot to consider here. So I would say if you're considering an antidepressant, consult your psychiatrist, of course, but also consult your psychologist, right? If you have one, consult your psychologist, see what they say as well. I'll end on this. If you're still unsure of if you should take an antidepressant, it's like this. Are you having suicidal ideation? Are you making plans to kill yourself? Are you at that level? Then I think it's time. I think it's time at that point. But if you're doing pretty well and you're managing your depression, yeah, it's really heavy, but you think you can push through without it, probably the better way to go. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just sharing some opinion here. Always weigh anything I say or anyone else says against a good advice of your medical doctor.